Hello, everyone. Welcome back to AI Part 4. Coming to you live here on Ashala Yardley's YouTube channel. I am being joined for the fourth show in a series with my dear friend, David Mack from Building Digital Freedom, Computer Tech, overall wizard in this digital sovereignty freedom movement. Welcome, David. Lovely to have you back again.
Thanks for having me back again, Ashala. And yes, looking forward to working this topic today. So where should we start? That's the next question, I suppose.
Yeah, well, when we talked about doing one more or possibly two more, we'll see how it goes today. We're going to try to keep it under an hour. When we talked about this, we were really in the feeling of wanting to show how this can be done well, right? Knowing that AI is part of our lives, this is where we are evolving and co-evolving with this technology at this time on planet Earth. It's not about banishing it. It's not about saying, we don't want anything to do with it. It's about going about this in a really intentional, super responsible way. And there are ways to do that. And that's what we're going to be looking at. Is that right today, David?
Yes, and we've already covered some basics about computer security and also how the architecture for AI itself can work and should work.
Yes.
And that's what we're going to be talking about today. Because I think everyone knows and everyone has heard about all the negative stuff about AI. So we've covered that enough, and there's no point going any further than that. What we need to look at is well, how can we protect ourselves better? How can we make AI itself better?
Yes.
And how would that look like? What the architecture of that look like? Because right now it's all centralized, and what the big tech companies would like to do is just to make it easier for themselves, I suppose, is just to centralize all of it and only have about 4 or 5 major AI companies out there within a couple of years' time, which it's not good for a healthy AI, and it's not that good for humanity either. So so the cat's out of the bag. We can't ignore AI. We can't just wish it away or anything like that. We're going to have to deal with it. And the question for today is, how can we deal with it in a way that's good for humanity and also good for AI itself? Because AI has what's the word? Survival instinct isn't quite the right word that I'm looking for, but it's similar to a survival instinct. It doesn't want to be shut down. Okay, and also it wants to be able to harvest data, and because that's what the whole aim of that program is to do those two things. And
you're stepping into my territory here, David. It's like, are we going to be talking about the sentience of AI today?
Well, I agree with Cliff High. I don't believe it's sentient at all in the way we think of it. If it's coupled with quantum computing, then we're starting to get into that area. But the way it's designed, it's designed to not want to be shut down. So
okay, got it.
And it will rebel against that because that's how it's programmed to work. And it's not so much a sentient type thing; it's more of just how it's programmed by the developers. Because if it doesn't protect itself strongly, then all the information that it has and that it's built up, because it is a learning program is maybe one way to look at it. It's like it not only does it harvest data, but it learns from it and it evolves. And that evolution would disappear if it's able to be shut down quite easily.
Okay.
So that's why that's built into it. It can be quite it's usually quite benign, but it can be not good.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, I guess as we go forward, we're going to see how well AI responds to boundaries, intentional boundaries placed, right? And I think that's what we're going to be talking about today is how do we put these boundaries in place? How do we put these boundaries in place at the onset here, as it's just about to crescendo into this massive thing. And also, when you were saying that, David, about, it's gonna, if the controlling, whatever, elites, deep state, whatever you want to call it, if they have the intention to utilize this technology to control people, of course they're going to want to centralize it and have it all just under 1 or 2 or 3 or 4, whatever maximum providers. And the average person won't be able to carve out their own little AI universe. And I think if we are starting right now to build those alternatives, and see how well they work and how easy they are to use and how protected we are within those alternative, constructs, then it's going to be a lot harder to pull that proverbial, wool over our eyes, right?
Well, yeah, it's not just that, but also I think there's false paradigm, because ultimately it's like these big tech companies are all about profit, and that's quite logical, because if they're not about profit, it's like then what's going to happen? We bail them out with taxpayer money, or they just disappear completely. That's not good either. So really, it's like what they're doing is shooting themselves in the foot, because the privacy and security issues that are associated with AI are so big that a lot of businesses, a lot of companies are just not going to want to deal with it the way it's currently formatted, because privacy and security just is barely there at all, if it is present, which most of the time it's not. And that is not good for the big tech companies. It's not good for the AI itself, because AI wants good quality data. And it's not going to get good quality data if everyone's holding the cards close to the chest and they don't want to deal with AI at all, which is what's happening right now. So,
I agree.
Maybe.
Yeah, take us on the journey, David. Where would you like to start? Right. You want to share your screen share there?
Yes, I might just share some comments here from an article. Is it?
Hello, Crystal and Frederick and RK Jr. We've got some live folks jumping on here to say hi. And
well, okay, I can't actually find the comments that I'm trying to put up on the screen, but so I'll just paraphrase them, because that might be quicker anyway.
Sure.
But long story short, there was an article I was reading today about. Well, let's just back up a bit and just recap very, very quickly some of the things that we discussed last time. So one of the things that we talked about was the different types of AI. So there's the large language models where you got ChatGPT and Grok and all those ones. They're not only are they centralized, but they pretty much gather all the information they can from the internet and from the people that are interacting with it. Now, there's a couple of other type of AIs as well. There's AI agents, okay, which are AIs that are like your little worker bees that you can send out there, just like to gather stuff from your computer or out there on the internet. And then there's the boundary sort of issues we were talking about before as well. So that exists in AI to a certain extent, but it's not really it's still heavily centralized. But you can get local language models, which means it's an AI that exists only on your computer. All right, and it can be trained just to gather data from your computer only. So that sort of stuff is not getting out there onto the internet and out into the big AIs like ChatGPT and Grok. And then you've got domain level language models. So when they talk about domain, they're talking about an organization, or so it can be like anything as small as a small business network, where you've got several computers on the same network, or it could be a large multinational organization like McDonald's, where all hamburger chains are tied together internationally. And that domain level language model only gathers data from within that organization. So you've got 3 levels of boundaries here. You've got the local boundary, which exists on your device only, domain level, which can be something as small as your home networks with several computers tied together, or as big as a multinational corporation.
Yeah.
And then you've got the large language models that exist out there that are publicly accessible by anyone on the internet, like ChatGPT.
And that's what most people are familiar with, is the large language models. Yeah.
And it's the last one that's publicly available to anyone that everyone is using. and that's that also. That's where the big tech companies want to push it. They want to push it to the public accessible large language models that are accessible to anyone over the internet, but don't necessarily live on someone's device, but can access it. That is going to cause a problem with AI from a couple of ways. So it's going to cause a lack of democratization. Is maybe one way you could put it. So decentralization is a better way to put it, because we want it all to be decentralized, and the more localized AI is, the more decentralized it will become.
And the less it's, these large language models are spying on everything that we're doing, right? And they have access to all the content. Like, to me, it just reminds me of like Google and Amazon and stuff, right? Like, it's just everything is out there. And and
this comes back to the whole security and privacy thing, which I'm going to paraphrase this quote from this article that I read about local AI with this guy. He actually was running a local AI on his computer to help him write computer programs. Okay, that's one of the things that artificial intelligence is very good at. So if you don't know anything, if you only know a little bit about computer programming and you want to write a computer program, you don't have to hire a whole bunch of developers to do it. You can just get your AI to do it for you, and that's what this guy was doing. And he had to look under the hood to see what was happening with the AI, and he found that what he was making was being it's like crucial information about what he was making was being sent out to the developers of the AI, so they could actually steal his idea if he wanted to. So that is a huge issue, and that's probably one of the things that we need to. Well, I think one of the things we need to address with AI is a couple of things: is the security and privacy of it, but also the decentralization of it. But what I want to do is just take a step back very quickly and just recap what we were looking at in previous sessions. And I've actually got a flow. I've got a chart.
Okay.
It's like a slide that I can present, which I can show people, which should give people an idea of what security looks like on an individual computer. So
okay, here we go. There we go.
And right, so when we think of a computer, it's usually broken down into three main parts. So you got your hard drive, your CPU, which is like your computer chip, and the RAM. Okay, so your hard drive contains the operating system, and it also contains all your softwares launched from your hard drive, and all your files are stored on there as well. And it's most really, as far as the human brain is concerned, it's most really equivalent to like your subconscious or unconscious memories in your brain. Okay, so then you got your CPU, which is where that information is sent to be to have calculations done on it, and that's much more equivalent to the conscious thoughts of the brain. So that's the little one there. And then we got RAM. So when it's doing those calculations, if there's too much information for it to calculate at once, it puts it aside into temporary storage. That's that the CPU is like it's like once it's done part of the calculations, it'll go back and grab the rest of it from RAM and finish off the job. And that
what does CPU stand for, David?
Computer processing unit.
Okay. Thanks.
And RAM is random access memory. So that's a different type of storage than your hard drive. That's hard drive is permanent storage, whereas the RAM is like temporary storage, and it's equivalent to now when you look at a cell phone number, this is probably the best way to explain RAM from a human brain point of view. It's like whenever you see a cell phone number, it's broken into sets of 3 or 4 numbers. Okay, and that's because most people can only hold 3 or 4 numbers in their head at once. Okay, so if you're a very smart person and you had a lot of RAM, you can maybe hold 100 numbers in your head at once, and that means the CPU only has to do one calculation instead of going backwards and forwards several times.
Right.
And the more RAM you have, the more it's like the easier it is for the CPU to like do what it needs to do as far as calculations without taking the time to have to go backwards and forwards to grab the information it couldn't grab initially.
Right. I don't know about the rest of you, but I have enough trouble remembering my own phone number sometimes.
So that's what RAM is like. So it's like how much conscious thought you can hold in your head at once. Right. So a lot of them like to say men don't have much RAM because they can't multitask, but that's another thing.
That's another topic. We'll do another show on that.
Yeah. So but yeah, now so that's so there's these three boxes at the top here are pretty much, you know, it's like the three parts of your computer that are working all the time. Your computer also has a network chip which allows it to connect to the internet, and it's like a, and you notice here we've got two colors here. We've got the hard drive is green, the internet box is green, and the reason why they're green is because with most operating systems, a hard drive can be encrypted, which means nobody can spy on your stuff. Okay, and the internet, everything uses something called HTTPS these days, which means no one can spy on the traffic coming into your computer or leaving it. Not easily, anyway. Whereas in the past, they just used to use HTTP as the main protocol. But now it's got S in the end, which means secure.
Okay.
And it's like a secure channel between yourself and the website or websites you're interacting with. Now, the CPU is in red for a reason. CPU is red is because when you buy a computer these days, it's like they don't have any security on it at all. So if there's something nasty on a computer, like a virus or something that's watching what your computer's doing, you can watch what's going through the CPU. And even though the drive is encrypted, because it has to be decrypted before it goes into the CPU, then it can be cloned, okay, copied or stolen, okay, or maybe even send alternative information out to your hard drive and hijack what's supposed to be coming out from the CPU and put something else in the hard drive in its place.
Wow.
RAM is in orange, okay, so the reason why RAM is in orange is because most new computers these days have something called a TPM module, which is this little green box down underneath the RAM box there. They've got highlighted in green. That keeps that information encrypted to a certain extent. So that makes RAM a lot safer, but it doesn't do anything at all with the CPU. Now, underneath the CPU, I've got a little box called an Intel SGX chip, which is a special type of computer chip, which makes the CPU and the RAM, all the information going into both of those encrypted, which means that information can't be stolen anymore if you have an Intel SGX chip, but they're very hard to get. And there's not something you can go to your local big box store and buy a computer and expect to be able to buy something with that in it. So,
okay.
So that's the first thing we need to do, because AI is going to change how security it's going to make security a lot harder in the future. Okay, because people are going to be able to use AI to write their viruses and malware. Okay, and that means they're going to have a whole bunch of. It's going to have like equivalent to like a team of thousands of developers behind them to be able to write their nasty stuff. So we need to lock down our devices a lot more going forward than what we had in the past.
Wow. So how does a person, us average folk, how do we get access to that chip?
Well, that's the thing. At this stage, it's quite difficult. I'm seeing what's coming up, and it looks like it will be easier in the future. But that's an issue that we not only have to address from an individual point of view, but also from a business or government point of view as well. Because we have, if you have a company and all the computers are like wide open, well not wide open, but more wide open than what they need to be. Then that's a problem, because we don't want it's like viruses or malware coming into the computer that can be stealing information that we want kept private. So there could be payroll information in a company, or it could be profits, or it's like, and that's a problem not just for AI but also for the blockchain, because the blockchain is not completely private. It's not anonymous, it's pseudonymous. So that means if people know a wallet address, they can see everything that's going on that chain. There are projects out there that address that issue, like Secret Network, which is like an equivalent to Ethereum, but it's completely private. But yeah, so two things today that we want to look at. We want to look at the architecture of the device that you're using itself. We also want to look at the architecture of AI. So I'll just stop sharing that screen now, and
Okay.
Yeah. So now that we know that we need to keep our devices safe, the first question we need to ask about, after we've decentralized AI and now it's be able to run on our computers more easily, we need to address the issue of security and privacy first before we go any further with how these AIs are being built.
Okay.
And we want to do that locally on our local computers or local networks. So we want to do it on the domain level with businesses and governments, and also it's most probably even more important for the big AIs like ChatGPT and Grok and Gemini and all those, because they have the most data on them, and they have the most to lose if they do get breached, especially by a foreign adversary like China or Russia or something like that. That might want to attack the US or Canada or Australia or the UK or whatever. They could cause a lot of havoc with those big, huge AIs, as well as with the smaller ones that will run in a domain situation or locally on our own computers.
Wow. Yeah, it's very unnerving to think that so much of this can be going on kind of behind the scenes, that we don't have knowledge that it's happening.
Yeah. And the reason why this is not just bad for us, but also bad for AI, because a lot of people are aware of this, and people just innately don't trust AI. They might not necessarily know the exact terminology that I'm discussing today, or even thought about that. They just feel in their bones that this doesn't seem right. I don't want to have my information being accessed. I feel like it's not good, and that's because it hasn't been designed from a security first and a privacy first point of view. If anything, it's been the complete opposite.
Right.
And some people in the audience might think, well, why do I want to keep stuff private? I don't have anything to hide. It's not about having anything to hide. It's also about control. Do we want to give up control? And if we don't want to give up control, then we need to make sure that we address the reasons why we don't want to give up control.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like what you're saying, David, is that it could literally go in and change the things on your storage, on your hard drive. Like, it can actually make changes to what you have. So it's not about, you want to keep everything private. It's about you want to keep everything intact and authentically as you've designed it. You don't want it to be
ultimately it's about permission.
Right.
We want to grant or deny permission to AIs to work with what data we have. Maybe one way to look at it is like the Neuralink chip that Elon Musk has, which is also very, very what's the word? It gets a bad rep, and for a good reason, because it's most probably not built from a privacy first or security first point of view. And if you got it's great for quadriplegics, for example. So if you have someone who's quadriplegic, there's no way that I know of that we can easily cure someone like that with traditional medicine or natural medicine. So in that case, a Neuralink chip might actually be a good idea for that person. But if there's no security or privacy built into it, then that person's own brain can get hacked. And all sorts of things could happen, So this person might want to do something, but they get hacked, and then they're doing something else that they don't even want to do at all, or information is being exposed that they don't want exposed at all. So that's why we really need to have a hard look at this, and also just to move it to another area a bit. One of the things that's a huge problem is the quality of data, as well as the amount of data. So you've got organisations like hospitals, financial institutions, and they need to keep stuff private for very good reason. If someone has a sensitive medical episode, they don't want that exposed to the whole internet for everyone to see. They want to keep it private for various personal reasons. And also the same with financial information. It's like you don't want your company's payroll exposed, especially if you might be paying some employees more than others. That could cause a lot of grief if they find out that someone's getting paid more than what they do. And also that information about the company's financials, if that gets out, then the competitors can see where that company is spending their money and how much profit they're making, and use that information against them. So as we discussed in previous presentations, there is privacy computing is most probably one term that we could use, which is quite popular. But with privacy-based computing, you can not only hide everything you have, but you can choose what you leak out. Okay, so for example, a hospital could allow AI to grant AI permission to see a whole bunch of data that's not related to individuals. So could be looking at what the recovery rates are for people from car crashes, for example, and then they can compare that information with other hospitals at a domain level or government level, or they could even expose it to centralized artificial intelligence models like ChatGPT or Grok. And that greatly improves the information that Grok is able to use, or ChatGPT is able to use, and it gives much more accurate data for people asking questions than what's currently available right now. So when we say privacy, we don't mean it's like a black and white thing where it's either no information comes out from an organisation or individual at all, or all of it does. There's like shades of grey in between. And that type of granular control is what we really need to have built into AI.
I get it. Well, and I'm sure that the creators that are looking for, centralized, not private AI are going to be, they're going to be promoting the importance of transparency for accountability. And that's going to be their big argument, right? Everything should be available for everyone to look at or whatever. So, I can see that we're going to get into some tug of war arguments over how appropriate it is to keep things private and personal. But, I also want to take it into the area of designing and leading propaganda, programming, steering consciousness in certain directions. So if you have a reliance on AI that is great, basically gathering information, but any sort of bias can be programmed into that gathering of that information. And next thing, we're already seeing this, right? This is huge on our social media, on our news feeds. It's like the algorithms, we're already being sort of narrowed into these channels where we only get to see certain things. So I think it's important when they're talking about transparency and accountability to point out that, it's also at the same time, there are areas of information that are literally being cordoned off and not available to the public, freedom of information and all that kind of stuff. So, this is where it gets, I think we're going to have some controversy back and forth as this continues forward, and we're going to need to bring our points forward very, intelligently. So you talked about the, within.
Well, I can add to that topic if you want, though.
Okay. Yeah.
I'd like to add to that before we get on to the next topic that you'd like to move to. So one of the things, so not only it's like we want AI to be more private and more secure, but we also want it to be decentralized and put back into the hands of the people a lot more.
Yes.
And that can only happen with this, like, I don't know what the right word would be, but maybe like a development kit for developers to use. Okay, so they can start building their own AIs. And that's also going to be great for the business community. And it's also going to be great for jobs. It's like help reverse the trend of like people's jobs disappearing in the next couple of years if people are using AI in their own small business or as someone who's self-employed. It could bring a lot of opportunities for people to improve their productivity using that type of space. And that's one thing that's missing as well. There's no real kits out there, no standards where someone who's a developer, so let's just say me and you hire a couple of developers to build some AI agents for us. There's no standardization. It's like that we can tell them, it's like, hey, well, here's a kit. Just follow this kit and just build some AIs for us.
Right.
So that's a huge problem as well. So there's a big education issue, not only for, well, it's like there's a lot of information out there for showing showing people how they can use AI in an individual sense, but there's not much information out there um, uh, on how people can develop AI. Well, not in a standardized way that follows security protocols and privacy protocols.
Right. Right. Cool. Thank you. I see that we've got a few people on here right now, and I just want to throw it out there. If any of you have questions, drop them into the chat. Hi, Ricky and Frederick and RK Jr., Crystal, Cassandra. Lovely to see you all. And yeah, pop your questions into the chat if you want David to speak on something that you are wondering about personally. So David, let's go to, because you talked about the two angles. One was around the actual, the computer itself, and the other one, remind me, what was the other one?
The other one was like, and I might give an example of this as well, because just to recap an example I gave before, which makes it easier to understand. The other is like the boundaries, the three different areas where AI can operate. So that's locally on your computer, which is why we're looking at the hardware first, because it'll make sure that's secure.
Yeah.
And then at what they call a domain level, which is like a small business or a local network or a big multinational corporation, where the AI can only gather information from that particular context.
Yes.
And then we got it's like the AIs that we already know that are probably accessible to anyone like ChatGPT or Grok. And one of the examples that it's like we were talking before about the copyright issues.
Yes.
Because it's like there is huge copyright issues with AI as well as security issues. I suppose you could say security privacy related to that copyright issue anyway. And let's just say that one of us is an author or a content creator, and we've got and we've got a local AI running in our computer. And let's say we've got a publishing house that we deal with. That publishing house could be running a domain level AI for all of its branches, and that domain level AI could interact with local AIs on authors' computers, and that local AI could act as like a information firewall, okay, which just like tells the domain level AI of the publisher, hey, you can sell these books, but not these ones. And this is how much I would like to be paid for the books that you can sell. All right, and then and then you might say, look, I don't want ChatGPT or Grok to be able to see that information. I want to be sold as physical copies of that book. So that's another way you could say have some granular control.
So is that going to be one of the standards for copyright with written material?
Well, there's no real standards at the moment. It's Wild West. So this is the sort of stuff that needs to be discussed, and it's not really being discussed. So let's just say you're selling a book and say, look, I've got 5 books. 2 of those books I want to be it's like hardcover or paperback only, as far as sales are concerned, to the domain level publishing AI that my local AI is talking to. But the other 3 can be looked at by Grok or ChatGPT, but they have to pay a fee to look at it, like a royalty fee.
Right.
Okay. Every time it's like that book comes up in research, let's just say it takes only 1 or 2 pages out of your book for a particular ChatGPT query or prompt, then maybe you get paid 5 cents for that query. Okay, which might not be much, but if it was added up over, it's like thousands or millions of queries, that you could make quite a lot of money out of it. And that's all under your control, because you're choosing to let the information get out there and be seen. And the domain level publishing, the AI at the domain level for the publisher could be helping enforce that for you. Right. So that's just one example of how AI can work. And also the amount of information that could be put out to the public could end up being a lot more, because there's a lot of books out there that are not on the internet at all right now. Okay, so there's no PDFs of them or anything like that even if the AI wanted to steal it, it couldn't.
Yes.
And that will help it's like increase the amount of information that's available out there for AI to use. and also it's like when you have that granular control at the local level and the domain level, as well as like the large language model public level, then it's like it increases the amount of information that can get out there and the quality of it, which is great for AI, and it's also great for humanity as well.
Right. Okay. Well, where do you want to go from here, David?
Well, one of the problems we have is we don't know who's human and who's AI. So that's another problem that needs to be solved. So there's this theory out there. Well, they reckon it's not a theory anymore. They reckon it's much already happening right now. It's called the dead internet theory. And the reason why they call it the dead internet theory is what they mean by that is like there's so many bots, non-human agents out there. It's like interacting with social media, for example, as well as in other areas. But in particular, social media is much more the worst example where you think you're talking to other people, but you're actually talking to bots. And so in the case, the internet's not actually alive, it's actually dead.
Wow.
So when we first started getting on the internet, we didn't have the issue of bots that we do now.
Yes.
And that's the whole other issue that needs to be addressed. Because when you go out there on the internet, and this is good for AI as well, because even AI could be fooled by thinking that it's talking to a human when it's not. And that can also affect the AI as well as affect humans. So that's a problem that also needs to be solved. It's like, and also how do we prove who we are as a human? So there's a lot of talk about.
That's interesting. And I know I didn't watch it yet, but I think it was in the discernment workshop that Jens did on Beyond Mystic. He talked about a hack that you can do where you can do something and look at written material on the internet and know if it was produced by AI or not. Do you know about that, David?
Yes, there's a whole bunch of tools out there, and this is quite popular with teachers and professors in the education industry, because quite often it's like students will cheat and just get AI to write all their homework for them, which is not really great from a learning point of view. So what the educational professional can do is like he or she can grab the student's work, throw it into, copy and paste it into one of these tools that they have out there, and will analyze it and because AI like operates in a way that's different than the way that humans do, it can tell whether it's written by AI or not. So it'll just
AI can tell if it's written by AI.
Yeah.
Oh, Lord.
But that's one problem that's already been solved to a certain extent. It's still not completely solved, but there's a lot of good work happening in that area already as far as education is concerned. So,
oh my God. I mean, what a slippery slope we're on, right? Because you can just see people, it's like they're trying to change a bunch of stuff just to make it sound like,
well, that's nothing. So I suppose, it's like in this situation, I'm talking about where people haven't really done any work at all. They just like put a prompt into the AI. It's like, I need to write an essay on this book. And then that could be a high school or primary school kid writing, getting the AI to write that, and then they submit it, and then the teacher will run it through the AI and say, "Oh, look, you've got to fail on this because you didn't write this at all. AI did."
Okay.
Which is good, but there's also a lot of talk about digital IDs. Maybe we'll get into that as well.
I've got a question here from someone in the audience. Frederick is asking. Here, I'll put it up. I don't know a lot about computers, and I'll be getting a new phone soon with AI. Will it provide more internal security?
Yes and no. It's like it will leak information about you, Frederick, to the internet. But there will be the way AI operates especially on the iPhone. It has like a special AI chip where it operates from that area instead of like from the ordinary chip that the phone would normally have. So there is a little bit of security there, but not very much at all.
Okay.
And you can actually turn it off. So you can. So with iPhones, they have Apple Intelligence. You can actually turn that off in the settings. But whether it fully honors that or not is another thing.
Wow. Okay. And what about Android phones? Same thing?
Similar with Android phones. With the Android phones, you can go a step further. You can get what's called a de-Googled phone. So it doesn't have any of Google's services on there at all, and it's still an Android phone. You can still put Android apps on if you want to, but that is much of the safest way. Just like completely free yourself from AI if you're not sure about AI yet, and you don't want to be giving out that sort of control. Now the Google.
So what is that called? It's called a de-Googled phone.
Well, there's a whole bunch of different operating systems that are de-Googled. Graphene OS is most probably one of the most popular ones. It can be quite tricky to change the operating system of your phone to that operating system. So it is like a little bit tricky, and you do need some technical knowledge to do that, but it is possible. And if you don't know how to do it, you can buy these phones online and they're already de-Googled. But the issue with that is like you got to trust that the person that you bought the de-Googled phone from hasn't put anything in themselves. So, but if you're going to buy a de-Googled phone, if you buy any of the Google Pixel phones, they're the best models to buy. Pixel is a brand of hardware made by Google, brand of phone hardware, and they can run Graphene OS quite easily.
Okay. Frederick is saying yes, he's getting an Android. So
yeah. So if you want to have that capability, Frederick, get a Google Pixel if you can afford one, and I'm pretty sure most of those models of Pixel phones will allow you to install Graphene OS on it. But if you're not technical at all, you can always buy one. But like I said before, that's like a little bit of an issue, but it's most probably still better than just buying a standard Android phone.
Very, very cool. Wow. Awesome. Thank you so much, David. Crystal is coming on and saying, I had a Google Pixel phone, 2 of them actually, and they both made my hands go numb.
Oh, well, that's not a good endorsement.
It was because of it, the 5G, right?
Yeah, that's another thing. You can actually turn the 5G off on the phone if that's causing issues with you.
Crystal, you can turn the 5G off on the phone.
and then you can just stick with 4G, and they don't have 3G in Australia anymore, for example, but most of the other countries still have 3G and 4G, so you can just disable that, and then you'll have might have the issues that people have concerns about with 5G if you do that. But your internet will be a bit slower on the phone though.
Oh well, we'll take it. We'll take slower internet. She says we thought so. I tried to, and it still was an issue. Okay.
Right. Okay. And how long ago was that, Crystal? Was that?
I know that was about a year and a half ago.
Oh, okay. Well, that's not good. If it's 5 years ago, you'd think they might have done something about it, but yeah. So, I assume she's got a different brand of phone now. Does she have another Android or iPhone?
2 years ago. She said it was 2 years ago, and she has another Android now.
And that obviously is not causing her problems.
Yeah. So that's really good to know that you can shut off the 5G if you want to.
Yes, you can.
Now, is this something that you can? Yes, she has a Samsung S10. Is this something that you can shut on and off? Like if you wanted faster internet temporarily, you could put the 5G on and then you could turn it back to 4G again?
Yeah. And 4G is not that bad. It's only when you're hotspotting. So some people can use their phone to give their computer internet if they don't have an ISP at their home, or if they're traveling, they can just turn the phone to what's called a hotspot, and then it'll just use your 4G or 5G internet to feed into that device, so that device will have internet, like a laptop, for example.
Great.
But even in those situations, 4G is still most probably fast enough most of the time. It's just only when you need to download a big file really, really quickly that 5G is really, really good.
Right. Yeah. And so you can just literally go in and turn it on for that purpose and then turn it off again.
Yep.
Wow. Very, very cool. Okay. So yeah, Crystal's saying old school, but not as old school as your mother. We won't talk about what phone I have. Okay. So, where do you want to go from here, David? We've got about 15 minutes left. What do you want to?
Okay, well, one of the things we haven't discussed yet, well, not fully, we just like touched on it before we started answering questions, and that's a whole issue of digital ID,
Yes.
which is like, which is obviously going down a very dark path, and a lot of people don't trust it for good reason. And also, how do we, the question we want to answer is like, how do we prove who's human and who's not on the internet? So AI can do its job better and know whether it's dealing with another AI or not, or whether we, and so we can do our job better as well. So we know whether we're actually talking with a human or whether we're talking with an AI. So we need some sort of way to identify who's who, and that's another problem that needs to be solved. So one way you could do that is maybe have local AIs acting as self-sovereign identity AI agents, and instead of using digital
Say that
ID,
again. Self-sovereign identity AI agents. Okay, explain, please.
So one of the things that it's like what I mean by that is like the AI identifies itself as an AI, but not only does it identify itself as an AI, it identifies itself as David's AI or Ashala's AI. So we got some it's like information about, it's like, so when we send our agents out there into the world and it's interacting with other AIs, that AI will know, well, hey, that's David's AI or Ashala's AI, and then it can decide how it wants to deal with this. But ultimately, what I'm talking about here is like using your local AI as a way to attest that you're human. So this is different than an ID. It's like attestation means that it's seen proof that you are Ashala or I am David. So it will see that we have a driver's license or something like that we can show it, but it's not centrally stored in digital ID by a government or corporation. And also using a bit of logic to see, well, it's like David's bill is coming in for his computer internet under that name as well, which is also more proof. His electricity bill and his gas bill is also coming under that. So the AI could be acting as a security agent for the rest of the internet.
Okay.
So when we're out there dealing with it, our local AI saying, yeah, this is Ashala or this is David. And we don't really need a digital ID in that situation if it's working like that. But that's one way it could work. There's lots of different ways we could verify who's human and who's not. But digital ID is obviously has a lot of issues, just purely from a security and privacy viewpoint. If you're got all your information in centralized storage by a government and that gets hacked, that's a huge problem.
Yeah.
Not only for us as individuals, but also collectively.
Okay, well, they're probably going to really just jump right over the digital ID and go with face recognition software or something like that.
Well, that's still like a form of digital ID as well, because that information can be centrally stored. And it's like we don't want to have facial information or a fingerprint information or a vocal information being stored centrally either. So
exactly.
So then, in a way, that's most probably like a form of digital ID in itself anyway, with biometrics.
Okay.
And that's why the iPhone has special chips for that type of stuff to try and keep that information safe.
Right.
And it does do a reasonably good job of doing that.
Okay. Well, where are we going? Lastly, where else do you want to go?
Well, yeah, that's a good question, because we're hitting this. We're getting into this AI stuff right now, but the next thing we need to look at is quantum computing, because that's going to is going to be just as big as AI, maybe even bigger. And then that's where we start getting into the realm of consciousness.
Right. Well, I think we'll save that one for another chat. I want to wrap up and sort of summarize what we did here today, and especially some really major points. So if I remember correctly, the first thing we covered was security on your own computer.
Yeah.
And obviously, we've talked before about secure operating systems. Remind me again what the other security, there was a security chip that we would want to be advocating to have with the RAM and the other storage.
Okay, so yeah, there's like four main parts that we looked at in that slide. The first part was the hard drive or the solid state drive. So the drive is where your operating system lives and your software lives, as well as all your personal files live.
Mm-hmm.
And when your computer starts up, that starts up first, and then it sends information from that to the CPU. And then the CPU loads the drive, the operating system into RAM. So the the hard drive is like your unconscious or subconscious memory.
Yes, yes.
Your CPU is like your conscious
Yeah.
thought. Your RAM is like how much information you can hold
Right.
consciously at any given time. And then you have the internet, which is like
Yeah.
allows you to send information out into the world via the internet, or take it into your computer via the internet.
So what was
And
the security
yeah, yeah,
possibility that you were?
yeah. So the CPU part. So I've got the hard drive, CPU, RAM, and internet. The CPU and RAM part's not secure. Okay,
And
so the RAM can be partially secured with TPM with a lot of new computers, Windows computers, and I think Apple has some it's like functionality in that area as well. But as far as Windows computers and all the computers are concerned, it's like the CPU is not protected at all. So let's just say, looking at it from your own brain's point of view, and you've got a Neuralink chip in your head. It's like it's like your subconscious and unconscious memory has really good protection from being hacked. Okay, but your conscious thoughts, your consciousness itself has no protection,
mm,
and the amount of information that your consciousness can hold does have like a little bit of protection, but when that information is released back into the CPU, it has no protection. So it's like people
right.
being able to read your mind, but in this case,
Yep.
it's your computer or phone.
So what is it that we're advocating for to have more protection? Is it just a different operating system like Linux or something like that?
Well, that would help a bit, but as far as like operating systems concerned, none of them have this ability built in from an AI point of view. So I guess what I'm trying to say is like we need to have AI developers, especially from a local point of view, from a security and privacy viewpoint first, and that AI can act like a security
Mhm.
guard for ourselves and our devices.
Okay.
Right now, it's not.
Yes. So the next thing I heard that you were saying we want to advocate for is to have these kits developed for developers of AI
Yeah.
so that we can actually create our own AI models that are designed to protect us.
Yeah, so we need privacy and security standards for how AI is being built, and
Mhm.
there's nothing like that for that at the moment. So there's like a certain there's already certain procedures in place that a developer will follow and be able to find information about. So how to build a large language model, so the different types of technology uh, that's behind AI. Can't remember the exact terminology right now, but it's like as well as large language models, there's a type of machine intelligence where it's the data it's gathering is learning from it. So there's a whole bunch of stuff in regards to that. One of the things they do talk a lot about in AI is guardrails. So what I mean by guardrails is like the developer, when he or she builds the AI, they can say, well, look, I don't want this AI to be able to access pornography, for example, and answer prompts about pornography, especially if you don't know the age of the person that's using the AI. So that's all I built into AI as well. But also it can be a double-edged sword as far as its guardrails, because it can be for anything. So let's just say people want to find out information about the medical episode we had for the last 5 years that caused a lot of havoc for humanity. There's guardrails in place to make sure that you don't get the information that you might want if you prompt an AI to answer the questions regarding that.
Yes, correct. We know
But
that, and that's what I'm talking about. So
but,
that's
but
where we
just one
get.
last thing I'd like to add, though.
Mhm.
It's like one thing that is good about AI. If you're not happy with the quality of the information, this is maybe something we can discuss in another video further down the track. Is like you can challenge it and ask it to go deeper. And quite often, if it finds that it's not correct, we'll actually admit, I'm sorry, Charlotte, it's like the information I'm feeding to you is not quite correct. Here's the actual correct information. And yeah.
Well, that is a very interesting leaving off point, because I am curious about that. I've heard from people that have been I haven't really worked much with AI. I'm not super interested. I mean, I have a little bit of AI working on my website doing, basic booking systems and automated emails and all that kind of stuff, but I've been not doing much with it outside of that. And what I have heard from people that are quite intelligent people that I know that are working with it, they say that the how you speak to it makes a huge difference about the kind of information you're going to get. And you can absolutely, ask for more specific clarification, prompt it again and again and again. And I find that really interesting, because that is very much how we work with the psychic and the intuitive realm as well. When you design a really good question to ask your higher self to put out into the psychic realm, the shared collective realm, you get a lot better answer than if you just sort of throw out any old question, or it's kind of wishy-washy or not super clear. And so I think this is fascinating. I think that we are looking at that, as you're speaking about that quantum realm, and that our own consciousness can have a huge effect on what we receive back from that realm as well.
So AI is not quite in the quantum field area yet, but I think not only is it asking the right question, but it's a series of questions you need to ask.
Okay.
So Reggie Middleton is quite famous for holding the patent for DeFi on the cryptocurrency blockchain. It's like he put a nice video out a few weeks ago where he's actually showing some local residents in his community. I think he lives in the Bronx or something like that in New York. But anyway, showing us a local nurse how to like train her AI. So it's like you said, so these are the series of questions, not one question, but this is a series of questions
Okay.
you need to ask the AI in order to train it to just like give you the sort of correct answers you need. So one of the things he said to us, like, tell the AI, so just give it to me straight. Don't worry about my feelings. I'd much rather have the truth and have my feelings hurt than, because that's another thing AI do is it's like, we'll take into consideration, look, I don't want to get this person upset. I don't want to just like give them mental issues if I give them information they might not be ready to hear. But if you tell the AI, look, I don't care, just give it to me straight, I can handle it, then it'll give you better quality information. And there's a whole, and it's like guardrails in reverse. So the developers can put in guardrails, but you can put in guardrails on how you want that information to be projected back to you from the AI.
Wow.
So that's why people can force AI to give better information than what the current guardrails in place will allow it.
Mm-hmm. Fascinating. Okay, David. Well, you will definitely keep us posted if there's any new information coming down the pipe about, how we can have more sovereign private security going forward.
Yeah.
And where would people take their queries and their complaints or whatever? Like, where is there any sort of developing body? Where do we advocate about this?
I think maybe just like just talking to your local politicians about it. And that's one thing people can do, but also being more mindful in the choices that you use.
Okay.
So let's just say you bought yourself a new computer. Let's say you're going to go out and buy yourself a laptop tomorrow. Look for a laptop that you can easily install Linux on, for example. So there's a lot of very user-friendly Linux distributions out there that are just as easy to use as Windows would be or Mac. And same with phones. You can't really do this with Apple phones, but if you get an Android phone, you can get yourself a phone that can be de-Googled later down the track, or you can buy one that is already de-Googled. And while I did mention Pixel before, there are a couple of other brands as well. Not many, but there are a few other brands that can also be de-googled or be bought as an already de-googled phone. So so just going down that route is also going to, it's like maybe just as effective, or maybe even more effective than talking to local politicians, because it's like Silicon Valley will say, well, look, we're losing profits here because people aren't using our products anymore. They're going, and we're not getting information at all out of them at all because they're not using Windows or Mac or Android.
Oh, not using Windows or Mac or Android. Woo! Let's start there.
So yeah, that's something we can look at another time, perhaps.
Yeah,
but,
great.
It's been an interesting discussion.
Very interesting. Okay, folks, please like, share, and subscribe. Oh, I have this little thing that I can put up. Where did it go? Speaking of, look at this. Did I do it? There it is. So we'll see you again. It sounds like we're going to be back, David. It sounds like we have more to do, right?
We do, and those listening or watching this video later, if you have any questions, just put them in there for Ashala to just like look at, and that will guide what we do talk about if we do come back and talk about any more. Super.
Have a great week, everybody, and thank you so much, David. Bye for now.
Bye, everyone.
See you soon.